For this stage, we're going to focus on colorizing and painting the sailboat that we created. Before we get started, we need to open our Color and Swatches panels. You can go to Window and choose Color. This will open up the Color panel, and if you want to see more options, go on the top right-hand corner, click Show Options, and this will give us all the sliders that will allow us to create and customize our own color scheme. Next, let's open the Swatches panel again. Go to Window, down to Swatches, and with the Swatches panel open, the first thing they're going to need to do is get rid of any unused colors. To do this, click on the little option button at the top right-hand corner, choose Select All Unused, and then to get rid of them, we can hit the little trash can at the bottom. This will give us a warning saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" We'll say okay, yes. And this will leave us with the four used swatches that we used to make up the drawing of our sailboat. Next, we need to be able to see the notation on the sketch that we drew over. In order to see it, I want to drop the opacity of all of the sails. I'm going to click on the leftmost sail and select it. Then I'm going to go to Select the Same Fill Color. And everything that had the same white fill color is now selected. If you look at the very top center of your control panel, you can drop the opacity of these objects. So let's drop it down to 50%. Notice that this will now let us see the C1, 2, and 3 colors that we can fill in for our different sails. Now you can deselect everything, and let's select everything that has a C1. So I'm going to click on the top one, hold down Shift, click this one, and then hold down Shift and click the very last one. In our color palette, let's choose a green color by clicking anywhere along the spectrum. With one click, and do make sure your fill color is in front. I should have made sure that first. With one click, you can see it automatically applies the green to all the 3 ones that we have selected. Additionally, we can save this swatch into our Swatches panel. If you go to Swatches, click the New Swatch panel. This will give us a dialog box that allows us to save exactly how we want this color to be used and to be set up. For now, we can keep the swatch name exactly as it is. We'll keep it a process color and also make sure that global is checked. We do want to uncheck Add to My Library. When we say OK, this green swatch is now added to our swatches library. Notice that it has a little triangle at the very bottom right-hand corner. This means that it's a global color. If you forgot to check the global color settings, you can double-click on this and go back and recheck it to make sure it's on. This is going to be very important in just a little bit. Let's go back and finish colorizing everything else. So we'll deselect it first, clicking off. Click on the C2 and hold down Shift and click C2 down here. Now let's choose kind of a bluish purple. That looks good. Again, we'll go to our swatches, click the new swatch, and under these options, we'll keep everything exactly the same. Make sure Add to My Library is unchecked. Make sure Global is checked. Say OK. Now it's been added to our swatches as well. And then finally, let's choose the C3 and choose kind of a purpley magenta color. Create a new swatch. Global is checked. Add to My Swatch Library is not checked. We'll say OK. And now you can see it's been added to our swatches within our document. Now to bring the opacity back up for everything, we're going to select the purple, go to Select the Same Opacity. Whoop, there we go. With the same opacity of 50% all selected, we can now go back up to our opacity at the top, type in 100%, and this will give us our 100% opacity for the entire sail. Now let's add a gradient color. With your selection tool, click on the leftmost sail, and let's open up the gradient palette. We can go to Window and choose Gradient. Here it is right here. I'm going to drag it off so that we can see it as we apply our changes. Let's close everything else out. Now by default, the first gradient you're going to work for is a simple white to black gradient. If you click on the little gradient swatch at the top left-hand corner, this will apply that gradient to the object you had selected. Notice that you got a little gradient ramp or a gradient slider down towards the bottom of this panel. To change up the color and placement of these sliders, simply double-click on the color, and this will pop out a color picker. To see more colors, click on the little swatches panel on the left-hand side, and you can see all the different pre-saved swatches. Let's choose the green swatch for the first one, and then we can go to the black one and double-click on it. And for this one, let's choose that purple swatch. You don't have to be constrained to just two colors. To add another color, you can click just below the gradient slider, and this will add a third swatch wherever you click. If you want to put it in a specific location, you can type it down here. The book wants us to type in 40, place it right there, and then we can double-click this one, and let's apply the blue swatch right there. So notice that it goes from green to blue to magenta. Additionally, we can move other things around. For instance, let's move the green slider to about 5%. And you can adjust how quickly you want the gradient to change from one color to another by clicking on the little diamond above this one. For this one, we're going to approximately move it to about 30%. If it's off by a little bit, that's totally okay. Right about there is good. This is a good point to go and save our document, so let's go to File and Save and continue to the next part of the exercise. Now let's edit some of the global colors that we created. The advantage of using global colors is that if you ever need to change the color of one of your swatches, it will apply that change to all of the swatches that you saved. This makes it much easier to recolorize any artwork that you have. If we go to the Swatches panel, let's edit the green swatch by double-clicking on it. This will open up our swatch editor, and we can type in specific CMYK values in this right-handed area. So the book is going to suggest changing the C value to 0. I can hit Tab, the M value to 75, the Y value to 75, and the K value of 10. If we hit Preview, you get an idea of what this looks like. All of the green has now been turned to this kind of reddish color. If we say OK, this will update our swatch. Let's do the same thing to the blue value. Double-click the blue swatch. The values for this one are going to be changed to a C of 0, an M of 10, Y of 100, and a K of 0. When we say OK, all the blues have been turned to yellow. And then finally, let's change this reddish magenta to a C value of 0, an M of 60, Y of 100, and a K of 0. Saying OK turns that reddish color to a nice orange color. Now let's end this stage by adjusting the gradient. With your selection tool, click on the left sail, and let's open up the gradient tool. The gradient tool can be found in your toolbox. It looks like a little mini gradient itself. And when you select this tool, it will add a line going across the object that we have selected. And if you hover over this line, you can see that it's actually a gradient slider. This will allow you to click on any of the swatches and reposition them. Or with the gradient tool selected, you can click and drag and change up the starting and stopping point of your gradient. The book's going to ask you to click at the bottom right-hand corner and then drag to the left till it stops just before the edge of the left side of the sail. When you do this, this will pop the gradient back up to the center, and this is how your artwork should look. If yours is a little bit different from what I or the book has, that's okay. As long as it's going from this direction, that's what we're looking for. This is another good place to stop and save our work, and then continue on to the third and final stage of this project.